Happy Lyme Awareness Month. Um, I made another video. It was just a little bit long, and I'm going to try to put in some extra facts that I forgot to mention last time. And also, I'm going to try to not get emotional during this and just tell my story. So, pre Lyme Tiffany was an active mom. I have 6 kids. The time I got Lyme disease, they were under 14. I believe my youngest was 3. Um, so, play at the park with them, do lots of fun projects. I decorate, spend like 20 hours decorating their cakes. Just had a lot of fun, was always busy, busy, busy. Did take time out to myself every day just for mental sanity and all that. So I was also exercising an hour or so every day, running some high impact exercises at a time, and then walking with my friends as well. So I never really been to a doctor except for to have babies. So never really had any problems. And we always go camping every year in Utah mountains, and wasn't any different that year. I was kind of a bit of a natural person, still am. At that point, I didn't even know what Lyme disease was. I do remember ticks from girls' camp back in the day, but never really prepared myself for a tick when I went camping. Wasn't very smart. I had some like peppermint oil and some natural stuff for bugs. So summer of 2017, went on a scout camp and with my son, just like a hike, and then also we went camping in the mountains in Utah. Never thought anything was a big deal, but then I remember, I actually wrote this in my journal. I'm not a huge journal writer, but I remember thinking how ticked off I was that I got like the flu like that summer, shortly after we went camping. I was ticked off because I was doing everything healthy and getting all my great fluids, and I was the only one that was sick, and everyone else was, not doing as well, like with nutrition and everything in the family. And here I was the one getting sick, and so I was kind of bugged by that. But honestly, when you get sick like that, you don't think, oh, I must have Lyme disease, right? So it never occurred to me at that point after I was sick. So I got better, moved on. But then when a few months later, in like October, I found myself at a doctor's appointment. Had to go and find a doctor because I didn't have a doctor. And I just felt so off. It had been 2 years since I had had a baby, and I thought maybe my body thinks it needs a baby again. Because I was nauseous. I took like 3 pregnancy tests. I was nauseous. I was lightheaded. I was just so, so tired. So I went in there to get some blood work done to make sure everything was okay. And this doctor said, you probably just need to eat more, drink more. And I was doing great with my nutrition and drinking a lot, so didn't really think that was going to be a big deal. My blood pressure was really low recently. I had started donating plasma for extra money, and sometimes they wouldn't take me because my blood pressure was so low. So that was becoming an issue as well that I didn't understand. So I kept track of all my calories, make sure I was eating enough. He said, well, you have 6 kids, you're probably tired because you have 6 kids. And I said, there's something more than that. But life goes on, and a few months later, as I was exercising a lot, my knee started hurting, my left knee. And I just thought, well, maybe I should tone it down a little bit. I was doing a high impact exercise routine with Betty Rocker, and so I thought, well, I'll just finish up this week on this program. And so I finished that up, was still running just a mile or so, and then the other knee started hurting. I thought, well, maybe that knee hurting because I was overcompensating, but didn't work out. So a couple months later, I went into an orthopedic specialist. He told me probably did a runner's knee, gave me cortisone shots, put me in physical therapy. About 2 months of physical therapy, the physical therapist said, I don't think there's anything I can do for you anymore. It's making you worse. And so that was frustrating. My knees were, at that point, it wasn't just my knees, it was burning from my thighs down to my feet, starting to get a little tingly as well. And so at that point he said, I'm gonna have to refer you out. I don't know what is going on, and he gave me um, some test work for things like lupus and autoimmune diseases, and nothing came back. So I made an appointment for an internal medicine doctor, and that was in January of 2019. Um, but by February of 2019, I had an appointment with an internal medicine doctor, and at this point, I was at my worst. My hands and my feet, I was very numb all over the place, but these were really tingly. Like just texting was hard because I couldn't really feel the phone very much. I dropped things a lot because of my fingers couldn't feel things. It had started doing like my hair sitting in a bar stool, and just lifting it up to blow dry my hair was just so much strain on my muscles, and it hurt a lot. Um, so tired all the time, even worse. The weakness was probably the hardest. I had to stop wearing heels because it wasn't safe to to on my weak legs, and I I just was in a lot of pain. That was strange. It was like a nerve pain. Felt like electric. Like if my dog laid his little head on my legs, it just kind of surged through me. This pain, and also muscle pain, um, all over. I always said it was my nose was the only thing that doesn't hurt. So I was grateful for my nose. Um, I would get migraines about 3 to 4 times a week and wake up wet, night sweats, like freezing but wet, and that was definitely new. Um, I seemed to sleep fine once I got to sleep, but it was hard to fall asleep because of the pain. And then once I got to sleep, I seemed to be fine. But then I'd wake up with a migraine and wake up wet, and the pain would all come surging back again. Um, but I was grateful to be able to sleep the night, 'cause I know some people can't sleep through the pain. So the numbness was really weird. I could pinch myself and not really feel it. I did it's like to pinch me, see if I can feel it. So that was strange. I remember my heart would race even when I was laying down, or um, just really strange things are happening with my heart as well. The brain fog, I couldn't process information very well. Like I couldn't read anymore. Like I could read the words, but I couldn't process anything, and it was so much work just to listen to an audiobook or watch Netflix or anything. Like it was just too much stimulation. So I would just lay in my bed um, and just stare at the walls, basically. I wasn't really sleepy tired, just so weak. So I just lay there awake a lot of the time. So basically, with 6 kids, what do you do? I would wake up and I'd get them to school, and I would come right back to my bed again until I needed to pick them back up again. And the whole time I was thinking, what am I going to cook for dinner that is healthy, that is fast, that they could help me with? And maybe I'd even get a shower. Showering was so exhausting. It would take like so much of my day just getting the energy to think about showering. So it didn't happen as often as it should have because it was just so much work. That's pretty much what I did: shower, eat, and lay in my bed. And I had a preschool at that time, so that was difficult. I pick her up from preschool on those days, and we had nap time, so that's been great. I just had to push through that the hour or so before nap time, maybe lay on the ground with her and play Candyland, or we'd watch a movie together. So she's been a great sport. Um, I also had strange, like, hysteric episodes where I would just remember crying for no reason. It didn't make sense, and so that happened a couple times and was a little disturbing. But then the pain is also a migrating pain, which I can never figure out when I would do my research online. Like the doctor would say, "Well, where's the pain?" I'm like, "Oh, right now it's through my legs and my knees." And but then the next day, well, maybe a week or so later, it'd be so much pain in my neck and my back. So I would go to different specialists for different things. I went to a spine and neck specialist. My joints started hurting really bad, all over, just aching. And if I would cook dinner and cut a lot of things, then my hands would be numb and tingly as I started cutting things, and have to take a break and um, just give them some rest. And then they'd be in a lot of pain later on. And So that kept me from doing a lot of my projects, obviously. I mean, at that point, I was just trying to make it through each day. Anyway, um, the I spent most of my time, I swear, like every week I'd be getting a different doctor appointment. I was determined to figure out what was wrong with me, even though um, I saw about 15 doctors within that 9 months. Some of them were really nice and they really tried to help. They ran every test. I had 3 MRIs on my back. I was tested for everything out there. I had 3 neurologists. They initially thought MS with my first doctor. The brain MRI came back with nothing. Spinal taps, tilt table tests showed POTS, my blood pressure in my heart. So that explained a little bit. My heart was healthy. Every every blood work that they could think of, X-rays, bone scans, and then they'd refer me to somebody else because they didn't know what to do. They would offer me medications for the symptoms, but they all just wanted like a band-aid to cover up. Where's the dog? Cover up what was really going on. And I said, no, I'm not going to take anything until I know what's going on. And so I would just keep going to doctors and doctors. One of my steps of doctors was endocrinologist to check my thyroid. He gave me some answers. He said that I had Hashimoto's. He didn't tell me Hashimoto specifically at that time. Another doctor told me that those numbers meant that it wasn't high enough of numbers that there was no medication. He just said, but I do know it's not causing all these problems that you're having. But you will have a thyroid disease within 5 years. And so I will talk more on doctors specifically and Hashimoto's in another video because I don't have too much time. But knowing that I had Hashimoto's helped me start progressing. I didn't know what else was wrong with me, but I could manage the Hashimoto's as best as I knew how. So I got a book called Hashimoto's Protocol, Isabella Wentz, and she talked about eliminating toxins from your life and going off of gluten and dairy and sugar and soy. And so I thought, this is what I'm going to do, even though it seemed horrible. Eliminate stress, just different things that she suggested. And so I went off of those things. And it's hard to see initially. Those are things that take a while to see improvement. And that summer, we had a vacation, and I was too weak and in pain a lot to do a lot. And so I worried so much about the vacation. We went to San Diego Zoo and the beach and SeaWorld. And I had rented a wheelchair so they could push me around, and it was still really, really hard just to stay present and focus on not being in pain and weakness, and just everything starts getting fuzzy really fast, and it was frustrating. But that's what my life was at that point, and we did the best we could. So I finally got connections to look into a functional medicine doctor. They said that they would look deeper into the cause of things. And so I went to this functional medicine doctor, and he said that he was going to look and find what was wrong with me. And I was so excited. All the other doctors had not known, or they had told me I was crazy, or just go home and rest. And so I was excited, and he did a stool test, and he did urine test, and he did blood test. He did all these things, and the stool test ended up showing that I wasn't absorbing fats or nutrients, and that was a big cause of my issues. And I had H. pylori and E. coli as well, and so we started supplementing me, tried to get rid of the H. pylori and the E. coli, and my brain's not working very well. But he didn't know what was wrong with me yet. But he said, we'll get there. And so I started doing my research still and looking up everything, trying to connect Hashimoto's to my symptoms, to the bacteria in my gut, and the lack of absorption of things. And I ran across Lyme disease, and I thought that was that was the thing that was connecting all of them together. And so I had asked that first doctor of mine to test me for it, and he said it was too rare, especially in Utah. There's no Lyme disease in Utah. And so I was nervous about asking this doctor, but as I was talking and explaining what the medicine they'd given me for H. pylori was doing, that it was just kind of making me worse, and he had the instinct as well that we should test for Lyme disease. And so I went and got that done, and a month or so later, this was about summer of 2019, and he said, "Congratulations, you have Lyme disease." And not all the bands were present. I'm not CDC um, Lyme disease, but he's like, we're treating it. It's obviously debilitating, and it's there. So he put me on biocidin protocol, and I was continuing to do my diet as well. And at that point as well, I was able to get an infrared sauna, and I was spending about an hour in there about 5 times a week at that point, as well as no gluten, dairy, or sugar. And the biocidin was a probiotic and a detox and Lyme killers. And so I took that for a year until October 2020. And I would say, with all of that I did this my first year, made so much progress. I know a lot of people don't get diagnosed until later, and so they don't have as much success. And so I feel very blessed to be able to be diagnosed after at least a year or two of having it. And so I feel like I got to about 65 to 70% better. And that was good, but it is not enough. And instead of 12 hours in bed, I was maybe 6 hours in bed and be able to do more. But whenever I push myself, regret it a lot. Just so much pain. And the next couple of days, I wouldn't be able to function very well at all. So that was still very frustrating. I would have a really good week, and then I'd have 3 really rough weeks. And I couldn't attend a lot of social things. Just one event, one activity, just grocery shopping. It was online, but still, just the putting things away and just anything would just wear me out so much and just put me in a lot more pain. And so I decided my next route. I looked into a lot of different therapies of Lyme. There's so many different things, and none of them guarantee anything. And I knew that I wanted to go the natural route of everything. So I went and looked into the Cowden protocol. And it's similar to biocidin. You take it 4 times a day. I take it in little cups of water before each meal and before bedtime. And I continued my supplements as well for the things that I'm lacking. Continued my sauna. I upped it to 6 days a week, and trying to include more and more water, more vegetables, everything like that, and trying to incorporate a little yoga every once in a while, which is really hard to motivate yourself when all you want to do is to stay in bed, obviously. But it's hard for everybody to get out and get motivated a lot. So at that point, this last October, I started Cowden on November, and I was able to get a grant for that. So I'm paying about 60% less. So that has been a huge blessing as well. I was probably paying about $500 to $600 each month before with what I was doing. And a family of 8 and 1 income, it was difficult for us. And getting a Lyme doctor just seems overwhelmingly expensive. And so I do what I can with what I have. And a lot of that is natural. I can go without certain foods and to help with inflammation. So that's the route that I decided to take. I've been on the Cowden protocol for, it'll be 7 months next week. And I got a little frustrated because I really wanted to be, 6 months, I'll be better. And it doesn't always, it's a 9-month program, but some people do better earlier, and some people it takes a year. Some people have to go back and do a little bit more. I'm trying to be patient. At this point, so it's, if I can think of the month, it's May 2021, and I was diagnosed in October 2019. So at this point, I wake up and the pain is there. the weakness is there. My left side is more weak and more tingly. Um, I'm a little shaky and wobbly in the mornings and stuff and throughout the day. And I take the kids to school and I get myself a little more ready now. Um, and then when I take the kids home from school, I really want to just go straight to bed after I drop them off. Um, but I push through the next couple hours, um, doing whatever I can. Sometimes it's my sauna, and sometimes I've been starting to take walks a couple weeks ago, trying to build up more strength. I can walk about mile and a half, and I'm not saying I'm fast, and I'm not running, but it's something. And I still do gluten and dairy free and sugar free. I'm not as strict as I was. I would say I'm 95%. Um, and I feel like that's okay. I'm still treating, as I treat the Hashimoto's, it treats the Lyme as well. And um, I can sit up longer. Before, I couldn't sit for church without feeling like I had to go lay down in the car. I couldn't hold my body up. Um, just for, you know, more than maybe 15 minutes, I'd start going numb and weakness would take over. So I can do a lot more, and I don't pay for it as much. Um, on bad days, my brain still has a hard time remembering things. It gets foggy, and if I push myself too far, then um, it starts just getting fuzzy and frustrated, and the pain starts taking over, and I start getting cranky. And so I've learned that I have to take, I'm usually 2 to 3 hours every day still to lay flat on my back, usually because the nerve pain, it needs to just lay entirely and have complete relaxed in order to help make it through the rest of the night. When the kids come home, I can be ready to go a few more hours and then before I need to rest again. So I feel like I'm making progress and not filling myself with antibiotics, and so my gut is getting stronger. I was having gut issues initially as well because my gut was damaged from Lyme. It does a lot of damage in every organ, and so it's so important to know what you're dealing with. So many people are getting mixed diagnosed, and they're going, I've heard people who died mixed diagnosed for 30 years, and I heard that the longer it takes for you to get diagnosed, um, that's about as long as it takes for you to start healing again. So it's so important. I'm just getting mixed diagnoses, MS and lupus and fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, so many things. And then the Lyme continues to do its destruction inside you. Um, so be smart. When you go outside, put your socks over your pants, wear proper sprays. I'll do a little more on that later on how to protect yourself. But be very aware that it's a problem, and it's if you want your brain to function, then be careful. But especially this month, as we prepare to start going outside more, to make better choices and to be aware and to check yourself for ticks. I never saw a tick. I never saw a bullseye rash, but here I am with Lyme disease. And so, it's just something you need to be aware